Well, Melanie is with me now, and I'm also joined by the author, Dr. Joanna Williams, who's the education editor at Spiked Online. Welcome to both of you. Joanna, first of all, just watching that video briefly there and seeing what some women go through every day, particularly the more menacing moments as we saw there just at the end, is that misogynist behaviour in your opinion?
No. I think that video did the rounds on YouTube and went viral on social media. I think it was last year, but it's been very thoroughly debunked by a number of people who suggest that, well, questioned the areas of New York. Why were certain areas targeted? If you walk around with a camera, making eye contact with people, looking for a particular response, then you are likely to find it. I think the problem is nowadays we throw around statistics like 85% of women have experienced sexual harassment, but when sexual harassment is defined so broadly as to include winking and whistling, the real surprise is why so few women have experienced sexual harassment. If winking and whistling are sexual harassment, my surprise is that it's not 100% of women, but I don't think winking and whistling are sexual harassment, and I don't think this is something that really needs police time and attention to be spent on it.
Melanie, what do you say first of all to Joanna articulating this idea that it's just too broad a spectrum to include some of the things that she said, like winking?
Well, I tried to not trivialise this as just being a winking or a wolf whistling issue, and actually it's much broader, and it is about the continuous backdrop of harassment that women experience every single day. And it's, you know, it's going from very young girls in their school uniforms right through the spectrum, you know, up to adult women, and receiving unwanted attention that is intimidating, that is off-putting, and that puts us socially at a disadvantage, and we are targeted because of our sex. And I think that that is when, and we've seen some success actually around the country. Nottinghamshire Police do define misogyny as a hate crime, and it has encouraged more women to come forward and report issues, and it's led to convictions of people who've been identified through that process, who've then gone on to commit some more serious crimes against women.
The thing is, Joanna, isn't this now, in 2018, an opportunity to set the reset button, to actually get the law to keep up with what we now deem acceptable standards of behaviour by men towards women?
I think we are pressing the reset button, but to me we're pressing it in a way which is entirely detrimental to women, because to me this proposed law is incredibly insulting to women. It suggests women are so fragile and vulnerable that they can't cope with walking down the street.
But why should they have to put up with endless wolf whistling or catcalling, or, you know, people shouting at you in the street, men saying, "Oi, darling"?
Because a lot of this is about human interaction, and women can cope with human interaction. Some women actually, I mean, bizarre though it may seem to people sitting here, some women don't find it unwanted. Some women do actually enjoy engaging with people and have no problem with it whatsoever. The danger is when we start talking about people, children in school uniform, girls in school uniform, we reduce all adult women to that status. I don't want police protecting me on the street from wolf whistles and catcalls. I'm more than capable of being able to protect myself.
Right,
this is incredibly illiberal.
Right. In that sense, do we really need legislation to deal with this? Because there are laws already in place. We do have hate crime laws. We do have laws against harassment. So we are talking about what one might describe, and Joanna has said, as the more trivial end of what is harassment.
And I completely understand, you know, the side of the argument that Joanna is putting across. However, it is something that happens on such a ritualistic, regular basis. And when it comes to the other hate crimes that we already have, very often these can be kind of bisectional issues. So it will be people are being targeted because they are a Muslim woman or because they are a black woman. And, you know, actually to enforce it and make sure that it's properly dealt with. The police have said that they do not object to it. It doesn't take up any additional resources from elsewhere, that they are very happy to incorporate it into their work that they are already doing to better protect women.
I think you have to have led a very, very privileged life to think that this is the best use of police time. You've clearly never been mugged or burgled or been held at knife point.
That's very unfair to say that, and I'm not assuming that at all. And this is the problem, I suppose, with the line of the debate that has, you know, largely been taken taken out of context. But this is about fostering a real change in our culture. And there's been the chair of the sex discrimination review that the Forces Society undertook said that the laws do set our cultural norms and our behaviours.
But isn't that the point?
But exactly, it is the point, and it's an incredibly illiberal change, which is about policing personal behaviour, monitoring interactions between people.
I really don't understand
want
why
to
men
live in a world.
Well,
I don't think it's just men. I think actually lots of women would object to this law too.
Well, would you object to a law like this, Miata?
Well, so it's clearly bad behaviour, and I disagree insofar as, you know, it's sexist and it shouldn't be tolerated. And there's a spectrum, and I think you do have to be proportionate. And, you know, some of the things that we see, you know, men taking pictures of women up their skirt and stuff, absolutely should be banned. Catcalling, wolf whistling, I think we do need, within the bounds of the existing law actually, to treat them firmly and more strongly than we are at the moment. But I think there's a kind of cultural norm. I think if you say it's okay, people will continue doing it. But actually, if more people are saying this is absolutely disgraceful, it is unacceptable, you cannot behave in that way, that in itself starts to shift the cultural norm.
But what does it say, as Joanna said earlier, that actually you're going to, in some way, change interaction between men and women, that is how relationships, not with wolf whistling, catcalling, but if you interfere at a sort of legal level to that extent, it will make it difficult for normal human relations to continue.
It really doesn't, though, does it? I mean, to treat somebody entirely with dignity and respect in a way that you would treat for a man to treat another man, to do that to a woman, I don't think it redefines our relationships at all. And the idea that men are completely unable to cope with doing it at that level is insulting to them.
The problem is that everybody has a different idea of what dignity and respect mean. I mean, I speak to women who will say to me in private, I wouldn't want this to be known publicly, but if someone wolf whistles at me, it puts a spring in my step and a smile on my face.
But should that be the reason and the basis for actually not changing a law where more women may feel intimidated by it?
But how do we know more women feel intimidated by it? These are very subjective things, and why should we be so illiberal that we're going to outlaw all kinds of human interactions?
I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for coming in, the two of you.